Right. We met on Clubhouse a while back, and he does a podcast himself, and he's pretty good on the mic and things. And he's based out of Arkansas. And floor is yours, ready? Go to yourself and go from there.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Yeah, it's been, man, that was years ago that we met on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
I'm a real estate agent in Arkansas. I have a small team here. I've been doing this since 07. So I've been around the block a little while. But yeah, I got a podcast, which is why I like the mic. That's what.
Yeah, you're more hip than I am. I just got the earbuds, but you got the whole setup. So
whatever works.
So you ready for on the spot? You ready to go through these questions?
Yeah, man.
All right. I'll hear them out. So what are your thoughts and opinion on the real estate market today, future, present, what's going to happen, and based on what your knowledge, what you're seeing, stuff like that?
So right now we're in a really interesting time, I guess, a really interesting situation. One of the things, I guess most of your listeners probably know about the Fed and stuff that's happening with the Fed and how he supposedly lied. And now, people are trying to get him to resign, but he's trying to stay there because he's going to be out in May. And so all this stuff is happening. The backdrop of all that, at the beginning of the year, the Fed said he was worried about a recession. And if you look over the history of the Feds who are worried about recession, they lower rates. And the Fed said, I'm worried about a recession, so I'm going to keep rates right where they are. And that did not make sense with anyone. So then the economy starts to get better and jobs improve and trade deficit goes down. All this stuff is happening. He's like, whoa, well, we may get to inflation, so I'm going to leave rates right where they are. And that's the struggle I have with the current situation of the market, because everyone seems to be waiting on rates to go down. It seems like rates should go down. A lot of buyers are telling me they're ready to purchase. They just need a little more purchasing power. And if they saw that rates went down, they would jump in the market. Now, if that happens, right now we have high inventory because people have backed up from purchasing. But if we were at 5% rates right now, we would not have enough inventory. So the ebb and flow of inventory mixed in with the rates and everything else that's going on is very confusing. And it's creating a situation where most buyers and sellers are very situation specific. If a buyer has to move now, they're going to move. They'll worry about refinancing later if that's something they want to do, if the rate adjusts or if it doesn't. The seller that has to move now, they're going to move now. But nobody is just making the decision just because. And that's the difference in now and then the pandy market that we had that was insane because everyone was moving just because they could.
That's good thoughts. You want to share a struggle you went through in business life or, in real estate?
I mean, it's always, every day. Like today, I got 3 or 4 today. I got a couple more yesterday.
Yeah.
I feel like everything right now is harder than it should be. There's just a lot of struggles in the marketplace. There's a lot of struggles with buyers and sellers. We're having missed appraisals again. Everything is not easy, but I also don't really consider that a bad thing. I think when it's not easy, it's good for those who can perform well. The bad part is when it's not easy and you're not ready for it to be not easy, then that's tough. But I actually think that the testing and the trials make something stronger on the other side and also give you an opportunity to where if you can get through it, if you could push through it, if you could figure out the market, if you could figure out the niche, then the spoils are yours. But if you just wait until everything gets better for everyone, then you're just kind of in the middle of the pack or bottom of the pack again. So I think the market in itself has been a huge struggle lately, coming off of last year and then the beginning of this year being so slow. But we're figuring it out, and I think that's going to give us an edge when the market recovers.
What about a quote? You want to share a quote with our listeners out there?
Ooh, I've got 2 that I probably reference a lot. One is, success comes to the person who does today what you were thinking about doing tomorrow. That, as a procrastinator, that kind of makes me go do stuff. So I love that quote. I don't know who said it. And then the other one comes from Jim Rohn, Rohn. He's the business philosopher that's now passed, not the sportscaster guy.
Gotcha.
But Jim Rohn says, discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. And it reminds me of something my grandfather said, never exchange the permanent for the temporary. It's kind of the same idea where, if you put a little bit of discipline in today, then in the future, the regret will be far less. If you don't do the discipline today, then the weight of the regret is huge in the future.
All right. You want to share a regret you did in real estate that you did?
That's tough because I try to learn from all that stuff. I guess I would say what's a mistake that maybe I learned more from. I would say during the downturn in 07 and 08, I wouldn't necessarily say it was a regret, but now I wish I probably would have played that differently. So during that time period, I started looking at other things you could do with a real estate license. And one of those was commercial real estate and business brokerage. So I did move into that realm and I learned a lot from it, and it was really good. And it's not like this, huge looming cloud, but I also know real estate agents that just stuck with residential real estate through that extreme downturn, and the stuff they learned was probably greater than what I learned, where I had to learn it, that kind of stuff in 2012 when I came back to residential, they had already learned all that stuff and they were making a killing on the short sales and foreclosures. And I kind of missed part of that market. I was still piddling in it, but I wasn't as active as I would have been because I was fairly new at the time whenever the market crashed. So I guess figuring out a way to make it through that would be something that I kind of think like, I wonder how different it would be if I had just stuck it out, tried to make it, or maybe I would be homeless today. Who knows? But it's something I always wonder about.
Okay. Let me ask you this: with the Zillow Compass thing that you see it on the news, what's your opinion, thoughts you want to share? What's happening?
Yeah, this is driving me crazy, man. All right. So for a little bit of context, there's something called the Clear Cooperation Policy. And in short, it says all the agents are getting together and we're agreeing as agents to, whenever we take a listing, put it on the market within 24 hours of getting that listing paperwork signed. And we'll put it into the MLS and it'll go out to the market. That was the original CCP. So everyone can see it. However, carved out in that Clear Cooperation Policy rule is unless you keep it just within your brokerage and only share it with the people at your brokerage. You can't share it with anyone outside of your brokerage. And that sounds like a reasonable policy if you're getting a property ready and somebody at your brokerage is like, hey, I got this buyer looking for something. You can say, oh, I've got a listing looking for something coming up. So that sounds like a reasonable policy, but in reality, that allows brokerages to try to keep deals to themselves and double end them. And that's always been my problem with the Clear Cooperation Policy. I think it's a sham. Fast forward several years after the lawsuits and after the settlements and all this jazz. And now Compass says, hey guys, we want to have these private listings. And these are people that don't want to put their home on Zillow. They don't necessarily want it on the MLS. They don't want it public. They want us to keep it. But we would like to share these listings with other agents in the marketplace. And then everyone goes bonkers about it and like, no, you can't do that, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, I'm thinking like, why can't they do that? That is a more transparent, better policy, in my opinion, because it allows a brokerage to say, this person doesn't want to be on the MLS. They don't want to be on Zillow, but I have it listed and I would like to share it with these other agents who sell in that area that may or may not be at my brokerage. I don't understand the problem with this. And everyone that's coming out against it is saying, well, Zillow's just trying to keep these listings for themselves and double end it. And that's the part that drives me completely insane, because if they are doing that, they can currently do that under the current rule. There's nothing they have to change or nothing in addition that they have to do. They can keep these private to themselves and double end it. They could do that all day long because Clear Cooperation carves out an exception for that. So obviously they're not trying to do that. Now, what they're trying to do is test prices. They're trying to say, hey, seller, you want to go to this price? We think it's $100K overpriced, but let's try that and see if somebody buys it, not necessarily on the MLS or on Zillow, so you don't get the days on market. And so they test these prices and they adjust them. And then eventually they say 94% of those listings still go out to the MLS and still get publicly marketed. Only 6% sell. And of that 6%, only 2% of them sell in Compass itself. So the rest are selling from Compass and another brokerage. So it's co-broking. So that's the part that drives me absolutely insane. And I don't understand it. And I don't understand why so many other brokerages are against it, because here's a company saying we have these incredible listings that don't want to go public and we'd like to share them with you. And everyone's blowing up about it. Like the Next Home CEO, James Dwiggins, released something last week and said, this is obviously a ploy for Compass to keep stuff inside to themselves. Leo Perea, the EXP CEO, lambasted Compass about it, saying this is bad, bad business and bad faith, and saying that they should really put these out like normal properties and not keep them as an exclusive. Meanwhile, EXP maintains an exclusive network of listings not available to any other brokerage. So how do you reconcile that? Like, you're doing the exact thing you're telling them not to do, but now Compass wants to share it with other agents and you're uppity about that. That doesn't make any sense. So I guess the thing that is insane to me is that it seems like all of these companies are actually against the Clear Cooperation Policy, which they claim to promote. Meanwhile, Compass is saying we're not for clear cooperation because we want to cooperate with other brokerages, and that's somehow bad. So I think it'll all come out in the wash. And I think there's room in the market for more than one model. The other problem I have with it is everyone's trying to force Compass to adjust to this model in which it goes into the MLS and then gets redistributed to Zillow. And then it's on Zillow, and Zillow sells all those leads back to the real estate agents, et cetera. That's the model where all of these other companies want to force Compass into. However, that doesn't make any sense either, because Compass is saying that's not good for our clients. And all the other brokerages are saying, well, that's not good for your clients not to be on there. Well, if you have proof of those two options, then that means that there's more than one business model that's acceptable in the marketplace. There can be a different business model. And it's as crazy to me as saying, well, most properties sell for more in March. So we're going to force everyone who wants to list a property to go ahead and list it in February so you could go under contract and sell in March, because that's when sellers are going to make the most money, and that's what's best for the seller. And any agent that's not listing in that area is not doing what's best for the consumer. Therefore, you have to adjust to our March model. That's just as crazy to say, no, you have to adjust and you have to follow this model exactly. So I know that was probably long-winded, but I'm hot on this topic.
No, it's good thoughts, good shares.
I'm as mad about this topic as your dog is.
She wants to play. So we'll go through these stuff. Let me ask you this. What do you watch nowadays on TV shows, as far as shows, Netflix, Apple TV? What is it you like out there?
Gosh, man, I watch live sports most of the time. So right now it's kind of the lull in a lot of that. But I don't watch much TV. I guess the new Star Wars shows, when those come out, I'll watch them.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's really not much. I mean, Severance is good. I got to catch up. I finished season 1 in Severance. I need to watch season 2, but I kind of like those weird head game shows.
Gotcha. As far as live sports, what are you watching live sports now? Baseball you watching or college softball?
Yeah, I mean, I love college. I love all the college sports. I'm an Arkansas Razorback fan through and through, and Arkansas doesn't have pro teams. So the Arkansas Razorbacks are our pro team. So I watch them, get to the top, four teams in the country, and we lost to LSU, who wound up winning the national championship. So I watched them go to the World Series, and that was really the last big sports event that caught my attention. So I'll watch. I can't wait to football. I can't wait for that to start in August. So we're getting close, man. But this is that like 1 or 2 month. We do have a local college team that my nephew by marriage coaches here. Not college team, soccer team. So we have they're in the USL 2, I think, and they beat a pro team last year. So
wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. They're actually really good. They just won their division or something like that. So now they're going into the playoffs, and it's been really fun to see him coach that team. It's the local Little Rock Rangers soccer club.
Nice.
So it's pretty fun.
Cool. Let me ask you this. What's your walk-up theme song you coming out to if you get introduced somewhere? What are you coming out to?
Man, that's such a good question. I went through this with my son, who started T-ball last year. So this year he was in coach's pitch, and one of the parents was like, I have a portable speaker. What's the theme song that you want your kid to walk out to? And so I went through it with him. It's like, here's all these theme songs. And he picked one similar to what I would pick. He picked Survivor, the Eye of the Tiger. It was on the Rocky movies, He picked that one, which I love that one. But maybe either that one or like, man, the White Stripes, Seven Nation Army is good. I like a good beat, to walk out to something with a really good beat. Also like a lot of like Wu-Tang Clan and stuff that, you'd have to play the edited version for any kind of walkout music. But
let me ask you this. Being in Arkansas, do you have like a favorite player that comes to mind, or GOAT?
What was that? I can't hear you.
Arkansas Razorback. Like a GOAT, who's the best player at Arkansas that comes to mind?
Ooh. Well, Darren McFadden was probably the best player that kind of got the worst rap. He got that toe turf and couldn't really do it in the pros. We've had some greats. I'm thinking a lot about the baseball players now. Hagen Smith is going to be incredible. Cops, he's also a pitcher in the
Was that the guy that pitched no-hitter, right?
I think he's going to be.
Yeah.
No, that was Gage Wood. He just got drafted as well. He just pitched a no-hitter. He was one pitch away from a perfect game.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. So those guys I'm really keeping an eye on in the baseball to see where they end up. But it's always also fun to see like the pro basketball, I can't think of the team that just won now. Who am I thinking about? We had 2 Razorbacks. Oklahoma. There were 2 Razorbacks on that team that got rings, so that's always fun.
What's something you did in the pandemic that you didn't do before that you do to this day?
I can't. So whenever the dog barks, it blacks it out, so I can't hear you. Yeah. You may have to edit this out.
What's something you didn't? I know. I have a thing in the back. What's something that you have that you did in the pandemic that you didn't do before that you do to this day?
Clubhouse.
Okay.
I didn't do Clubhouse before the pandemic, and then during the pandemic got really heavily involved with it. And now to this day, I broadcast on Clubhouse every week, and then I'll catch rooms every now and then.
Yeah. Cool.
I got some great relationships from Clubhouse. I love that place.
That was good. What's your dream car? And then what do you think about the EV car?
The dream car, I feel like I drive my dream car. It just doesn't have all the parts on it that I want. So I always wanted growing up a Jeep Wrangler, and I have a Jeep Wrangler now. And I've still probably got more parts in the garage than I do on the actual Jeep. Like I have a new bumper and a winch and all this, it's all tricked out. And I like the idea of continuing to trick that out. But Maybe a bigger version of that would be the Dream Car. There's one that's like fully armored, but you can also take apart and make it look like a Jeep, but it's some kind of special brand. They don't even make it publicly. If I still wanted to, I got a bunch of kids, so if I still wanted to like tote the kids around, I'd get one of those. They have these big vans that you can lift and make overland. I would love that. I mean, I'm in Arkansas, so I'm going to have like a lifted, I'm not going to have a little sports car because you can't drive.
Yeah, I figure you get some hills and stuff, and not enough flat terrain, in places.
Yeah, exactly. The EV cars, you mean the electric vehicles? Is that
Yeah,
what
what are
you're
your thoughts on that? Yeah, I mean,
they're fine. They're not, it's not making huge inroads here. We see Teslas here and there. Every now and then we see Cybertrucks. I think it's less common in our area because you have to drive further here. So instead of just like sitting in traffic and using hardly any battery, we actually drive places. So I think the next leap in the distance stuff is going to help people here adopt it more. But right now, if I want to go to Northwest Arkansas, I'd have to make a 30-minute stop somewhere. And if I have a gas vehicle, that's a 10-minute stop. So that's something people are thinking about. And people go from Little Rock to Northwest Arkansas all the time.
Yeah. If you go back in time, what age would you pick?
If I go back in time, what age? Yeah, that's a good question. Probably somewhere around 27.
Yeah.
Is that an odd age?
This is like
whenever
prime,
you ask this question?
after college, or kind of a couple years after college?
Yeah. Let's see. I would be newly married, still fairly fit, and knowing what I know now at that age, I think I could be a millionaire in 5 years.
Okay. So that's a golden, right?
Yeah, like I mean, you just know, like if I went back to that age and restarted, I would be healthier, physically more able, and I would have knowledge to pull off some stuff that at the time I was maybe too afraid to do.
Yeah. Okay. Good one. Got a field trip as a kid that you did growing up? That you went?
Yeah, I barely remember it, but we went to this space center. I don't even think it exists here anymore.
Yeah.
And I can remember walking around looking at stuff. I was just enamored by like space travel and all that stuff growing up. So I would say that one was a really cool field trip.
Okay. And then I'm guessing generation, you're the millennial, I'm guessing?
Kinda. They actually call my age group the Oregon Trail generation, and it's it's like a little 5-year period between the millennials
and that's between like
the Gen X.
1980.
Yeah, so I was born in 82.
Gotcha.
And I think the numbers, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's something like 82 to 86 or 81 to 85, something like that.
Yeah.
And the reason they call us that is because we spent the first half of our life growing up with no technology at all.
Yeah.
No cell phones. There was nothing, no computers in our households. There was nothing. And then when we were all about 11 or 12, we got computers in our households. Our parents started getting bag phones for cars or cell phones, and everything started to change. There were no social medias. And my generation, 1982, if you went through college, all the way through school and college on time, then I graduated college the year before Facebook came out. So it's this really weird, it's a really interesting.
You missed the whole bubble. Yeah, that's crazy.
We missed the social media bubble. We had technology in high school that was very responsible. All of us were on the internet. We were all on AOL. We were all messaging each other and hacking. But in my age, like if you wanted to do something cool on the computer, you probably had to learn like code, because if you didn't learn the code, you couldn't do it. And so like the most popular cool girls at our school knew HTML code, because you couldn't change the colors of your messenger if you couldn't write the HTML tags in. So that kind of stuff was like, nowadays that's totally foreign, and people, I mean, there's no one that knows that stuff. To get a computer inside of our home at the time, you bought all the parts, you bought the computer and it was shipped to you in parts. And I put together the tower and the motherboard and the processor, and you just kind of fit it together like Legos, following the instructions. And that's what everyone did. That was normal. So all that stuff is kind of gone now. It's very different on this current generation. So I'm curious how that's going to turn out.
So I'm guessing, did you have a MySpace before that time? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I had one. No one was super active on it. People were just active enough to like set up their profile, pick a couple of songs, and then every now and then, you'd be on somebody else's page as a top friend or whatever. But it wasn't like it was not anything like what Facebook is now. It was just like it was a place for you to put your favorite things. And if you wanted to edit it, if you wanted it to look cool, again, you had to know HTML code. So all of us knew how to code, like all of my friends. And I did have a pretty large group of nerds, but even the cool kids, like even the jock in the football team knew how to write HTML code because he had to in order to edit his MySpace page. So that the difficulties back then really taught us a lot about technology that these days people don't understand. They just go to a website and assume the photos on that website. They have no idea that it's in a folder over here and a piece of code is referencing that. I mean, it's just the stuff from being in that generation. It's wild.
That's cool. Good thoughts on that. What's the movie you recently saw that's good or bad that you want to share with our listeners?
What's something that was what?
A movie you've seen recently, good or bad?
What movie did I go see recently? I just saw one in theaters, and I don't normally go to see one in theaters.
Was it Jurassic Park Rebirth?
It wasn't Jurassic Park. It wasn't the How to Train a Dragon. I need to go see that one for the kids. What movie was it? It was a cool movie.
F1?
No, but it's right when that came out.
Mission Impossible?
Yes,
Mission
that was
Impossible.
it.
Okay.
Man, I could not remember that. Yeah, the last Mission Impossible. I'd seen a lot of those, and so we went and saw that one just to kind of get away and get out. It was pretty good. The best movie I've seen lately. So this is not recently. This is probably a movie that you've never heard of recommended as one of the best movies, but I think it's probably one of the best films on the planet. It's called Chef, and it's got Jon Favreau. I think that's his name in it. And it's about this guy with a dream of like having a restaurant and just kind of being a chef, and he's got a food truck. And it's not like, I don't normally like drama at all. I don't like drama movies or anything like that. And this is more in that category, but it's so well done and realistic and also kind of real and uplifting at the same time that after the movie, I was like, man, that is a great movie. It was just a good movie. So go see that one. It's out on streaming services and stuff. It's really good, but it came out several years ago, and it's not like a big blockbuster space shooter movie like Star Wars, or it's very, very small budget and just a phenomenal film. So I would suggest Chef.
Gotcha. Chef. All right. Put it out there.
Yeah. With Jon Favreau.
Are you an app? Okay. Are you an Apple or Android guy?
Apple for sure.
And when you see the green bubbles, what do you think of?
Delete them. No, I'm kidding. No, unless they're clients. No, I definitely don't put them in group chats. I have several friends that have droids, and I have group chats with all of our friends, and they're just not allowed in because it messes it all up. So maybe when that's fixed and it doesn't mess it up, it'll be better. But I'm an Apple user because I just need something that works. If I was a Droid user, I would be tinkering with it. It's kind of like MySpace. If I was a Droid user, I'll be customizing it all and messing with all the icons and doing that stuff. That's just harder to do on Apple, and I don't have the time for it. I just need it to work without me customizing anything. So that's why I'm an Apple user. It's not that I have something against Droid. It's that if I had a Droid, I would spend way too much time on it.
Gotcha. Let me ask you this. You want to share a tip of the week, life tip, business tip, success tip for our listeners out there?
Tip. I guess, I mean, so every year I have words, to kind of like words to live by or whatever.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago in January, I was trying to get my words for the year and just nothing was sounding right. Nothing was coming to me. And this phrase, keep going, was kind of there. And I thought, keep going. That's interesting. I don't really like it. But I guess after the first week of January, I didn't have anything better. And so I just adopted keep going. I was like, okay, keep going. I'm just going to keep going. We'll think about that, think about what it means, and we'll see how it applies. It's the only thing I could think of. Nothing else really stuck or made sense. I didn't really love that one, but that's the one I had. So what I do is whatever my word for the year is, I even change passwords to be some kind of, it's a reference to the word of the year. So it's not the word, because I'm not going to tell you what my password is. It's not the word, but it's a reference to it somehow. And that way, every time I input a password, I'm thinking about it. And all my passwords are different for every website because I have an algorithm that I use in my head. So, but I have this key phrase in all of them that calls back to whatever my word for the year is that year. And so I'm thinking about it. Nothing's really happening. February comes and goes. It's okay. It's fine. No big struggles, nothing major. March comes and COVID hits. And that's when I was like, keep going. And it became like a mantra for 2 or 3 years where I was like, just keep going. Like, I know I had sellers at the time that were like, hey, my friends in other cities are saying that no one is showing properties. And what should we do? And I said, you should stay listed. And they said, what do you mean? Everyone else is pulling their property off the market. And I said, yes, that's exactly why you should stay listed. And we had gigantic wins for our clients during that time period because we just kept going. So for a couple of years, I just kind of kept that as a phrase. It's changed now, but I would say whenever the struggle happens, just look at that as an opportunity to keep going and pushing through, because that's the only way that you'll grow. If you just always take the easy route, there'll be no growth, and then you can't become what you should be.
Gotcha. Good thoughts. Good share. Let me ask you this. Who do you want to sit down and eat with, dead or alive? You could pick somebody. Who would it be?
Probably Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
I followed him since
here
06.
Yeah.
So he was doing a wine show, and I was like, oh, somebody should do that in real estate. And I just kind of want to like dive into some more topics. And I'm also happen to read his book right now. So his name's fresh on my brain. And I don't get to follow him a lot. I don't get to see a lot of his content or listen to his keynotes anymore because I'm so busy. So some of that would be just to catch up and be like, all right, what's coming, because he's been a pretty good predictor of where marketing is going and where it's headed. But I just think it would be fascinating to hear, about his life now. I know he shares it like nonstop with everyone, but I don't have time for it. So that would be one. Another one would be, I know he's passed now, but if I could bring him back, Jim Rohn would have been my first choice.
Okay.
But he's passed away. I mean, he's just an incredible guy and business philosopher. And he has this, you could still find it on CDs, maybe cassette tape somewhere. It's called The Weekend Seminar with Jim Rohn. And it's a life-changing thing. I would listen to it every year. And it's something that since I was 14, I listened to that thing. And back then you had to pay like $3,000 for the weekend to go. And that was like, whoa, $3,000. Wow. And my dad got the CDs for it, and those cost a lot. And so we would listen to the CDs growing up. And now I've just kind of adopted this cadence to where I listen to it about once a year. So I'd love to have him for dinner just to talk.
Gotcha. So I'm guessing you never met Gary Vaynerchuk in real life?
No, I haven't.
Or have you seen him? No. Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
He doesn't come to Arkansas often.
No, it's hard to go out there. It's not it's not on the list. Let me ask you this: if you're stuck in an elevator, who do you want to be stuck in?
If I was stuck in an elevator, I mean,
who do we work with?
I feel like there's only one answer: the elevator repair guy.
Okay.
I mean, that would be.
That's a first.
I don't want to be stuck in an elevator very long, so my first choice would be the elevator repair guy because I'm assuming he can fix it.
Yeah.
If not him, then I'd probably want some kind of comedian in there with me because, I mean, you're going to be there for a while, so you might as well be cutting jokes and cracking up.
Okay, cool.
I like Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis would be fun to be in an elevator with.
Shane Gillis. Okay. Let me ask you this. I know you like college sports and stuff, but favorite sports team and player? I know you're an Arkansas guy, but, who's your...
Yeah, so in Arkansas, because we don't have a pro team, you have to choose usually another city or another team to kind of follow. Yeah. So when I was a little kid, I guess in 1984, the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl, and naturally, I became a Bears fan. I can remember William Refrigerator Perry. My first name's William, and so my dad jokingly called me Icebox. So I just have always loved Chicago teams, the Chicago Bears. Well, not long after that, the Bulls happened with Michael Jordan, and I think anyone that was a little kid following basketball in that time period, I mean, that was the most amazing time period that we didn't realize at the time that we were in. But, especially now, I went back and watched The Last Dance, and seeing that and some of those games, I remember just kind of lofted him even higher, especially hearing how rad Larry Bird and those players were around him, and then seeing what he did. It's amazing. So he's definitely better than LeBron.
Let me ask you this. Did you watch wrestling as a kid? Do you have a favorite wrestler growing up?
Yeah. Hulk Hogan. I mean, he was the stuff, but, yeah, I mean, I even had a wrestling buddy. You remember those things? Because I had a trampoline, and if I wanted to wrestle something, I couldn't hurt an actual child. So we would throw the wrestling buddies down and elbow off the top ropes and all that kind of stuff on them. So yeah, probably. I remember when the Ultimate Warrior came out, I thought that he was rad because he was so jacked. But Hulk Hogan, Sting, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, those were all my favorites. On the game, you remember the Nintendo game that you could play?
WCW's NWO. Revenge.
I can't remember it was probably even before that. It was like on probably the Super Nintendo game. They had a
Royal Rumble. I think we had smash the buttons together.
Yeah, Royal Rumble. That's what it was. And there was
there
was a wrestler called Tatanka, and he had this finisher that he would throw people against the ropes and then pick them up on the back of the head and then slam them down. That was my favorite finisher ever. I loved that move.
So you practiced on the trampoline a few times?
But yeah. I had a neighbor that was 4 years younger than me, and he would always he was the guy that was getting tossed.
Yeah, cool. Let me ask you this. What advice would you give yourself at 12 years old?
Bitcoin. What advice besides Bitcoin? I don't know. I feel like a lot of life kind of made me who I am. So if I were to give some advice that would change who I was, then I wouldn't be me. I would say probably advice like stay fitter longer. The other thing I got into during COVID or just before COVID was CrossFit, and I've loved CrossFit, but lately I've been so busy, it's hard to maintain. And I know how bad it hurts to get back into it. So it's kind of a struggle to get back into it, even though I really love it. So I'd probably just tell myself to take fitness seriously. And I always kind of thought I was a bigger kid. I was a bigger kid, but in your brain, you think you're more out of shape than you are. And so I would probably say to stay in shape and to take that extremely seriously, and probably to stay in football, because I didn't know it, but I was a pretty good football player, but no one really told me. And so I dropped out because I was like, well, my knees hurts. I probably would have stayed in football because I didn't know that I was getting looked at. So that would be it. Stay in football, take fitness super seriously, and buy Bitcoin.
Gotcha. Now, do you own Bitcoin today?
No. I own
Okay.
Shiba Inu. I bought it as a joke, kind of a joke bet when Doge took off. Somebody was like, here's another dog coin. And so I bet somebody.
Yeah.
And their stuff hasn't gone up either. So we've both lost on that.
Okay. How long have you been a homeowner for, and what do you like about the city you live in?
Let's see, what has it been? 7 years, 8 years? Bought late in life. We were moving around a lot. Didn't really know where we wanted to land. I live in Little Rock, and one of the best things is you can go from one side of the city to the other side of the city in 15 minutes or less. That's pretty phenomenal.
So that small of a state, it's. I mean, you can cover it pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, there's like 200,000 people. Well, what is the population of Little Rock? Not the Little Rock Metro. Let me find it. I think the population of Little Rock Metro is 400,000. Yeah, 200,000. So the population of Little Rock is only 200,000, and it takes about 15 minutes to get from one side of the city to the other. I can go from my house in West Little Rock to some beautiful mountains and hike them in about 20 minutes. So I love the access to nature. Arkansas is known as the natural state, and I love the access to nature and exploration outside and the hiking and biking, all that camping, all that jazz.
Gotcha. Well, that's pretty good to know. I know Arkansas was that small, and to cover 15 minutes is pretty.
Yeah. Well, Arkansas itself, you could go from one side of the state, like you could go from north of the state to the bottom of the state in about 6-7 hours, and you could cross the state in 4. So Arkansas is it's a pretty small. There's only 3 million people in the whole state of Arkansas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's good knowledge right there to share with us. Let me ask you this: if you weren't your current job in real estate, what would you be doing? Anything for work, or share something?
Kind of depends on what kind of bankroll I have. If I have a pretty big bankroll, then I would probably be writing or creating. I like board games and stuff, so I'd probably be making board games or writing short stories. And if I didn't have that, I needed to hustle. It'd probably be something in restaurants, because I made some good money there and was manager and owned one, and it'd probably be that route.
Okay. Let me ask you this: you got a favorite video game growing up, or video game and then board game that you played? They want to share?
Yeah. So I was a big gamer growing up. I mean, I started on the computer. I started the StarCraft stuff, but even before that, I had a regular Nintendo. So all the way back to those days.
Okay.
So I went from probably the game that I probably logged the most hours in were 2 of them, StarCraft and Halo. We put a ton of hours in Halo. I probably put a lot of hours in 007 as well, like the Nintendo 64 version. Yeah. I mean, we could grenade in the temple. I could stand anywhere and throw a grenade and hit you from the temple. That's how many hours we put into that video game. But because it could ricochet. It was phenomenal. This is one of the best games ever. But Halo was one where I was real close to getting nationally ranked and doing some stuff there. And then I went to college. And so, when college happens, all that stuff goes out the window. But that was back in the day where if you wanted to play other people on the same system, you either could only have 4 people, or you had to connect everyone's devices with an Ethernet cable. And I still have a 120-foot Ethernet cable somewhere in my garage or house that we used to go multiple floors in the dorm to connect our
crazy
boxes to have a LAN party in the dorm. So yeah, those were the days.
That's crazy. Are you still playing today? Any games, or are you kind of let it go?
No, well, now that I have kids, gaming is coming back, but it's coming back more in that, I'm introducing my kids to the game. So that's fun. They're into Zelda. They've been playing that, the Breath of the Wild, and now they're on to the second one. They also play each other and stuff like Mario Kart. So I actually get more enjoyment than I thought of helping them discover it and helping them play, but I don't really have much time to play anymore.
Yeah.
But we do play a lot of board games.
What's your board game?
Let's see, what's one that I mean, so that I guess there's a couple of categories. One of them would be party games and the other would be board games. The party games we're buying more of because they're trying to bring friends into it, and our board games are so complicated that it's kind of hard to pick up a board game. But there's a board game called Planted, which is really good, easy game to play. It's just really nice just to sit and play. It's not one that, takes a lot of effort or stress. There's also one called Forbidden Island, Forbidden Treasure, Forbidden Jungle. They have a series of them. And those are all good because you're co-op against the game. And they're challenging and they're kind of like mind puzzles that you have to figure out and play. And those are good. That's like a level above Settlers of Catan. Ticket to Ride is also one we play a lot. But then like the other games that are more the party games, we're getting into card games like Pounce and
Uno.
Yeah. There's like variations of Uno that are crazy, like Uno No Mercy and Uno Team and Uno. But there's also like the Throw Burrito game. We played that the other day. They love. So yeah, I would say there's two categories: party games and board games. And we're always testing new board games. We're always playing new board games, but we're also starting to get into the party games that the friends can play too.
Okay, let me ask you this: what is your drink of choice?
Drink of choice: coffee every day. I mean, I do so much coffee.
Yeah. What about if you're out in the town? What are you drinking, ordering as a beverage?
Oh,
what do you drink?
It kind of depends. If I have a good pizza or, tacos or something looking at me, I'm probably going with an amber beer of some sort or a wheat beer.
Yeah. Tacos sound good.
If it's it does. I'm getting hungry already. If it's a nice, like, let's say it's a nice steak or something, I'm going probably with the red wine, like a nice Merlot. I like Columbia Valley wine because it gets an extra 2 hours of sunlight. So Washington has a valley called Columbia Valley, and there's a producer in particular there that I really like that I think is undervalued. So hopefully this is not too widely circulated where they hear it, but there's this vineyard called Chateau Saint Michel, and the regular wines are good, but they have one called Indian Wells Reserve, and they produce some of the tastiest grapes anywhere. So anytime I see the Indian Wells Reserve Merlot or Indian Wells Reserve Cabernet or whatever, we buy them and we load up on them. So we'll get boxes and boxes of them, probably buy out the store whenever we see those because they're that good. And they're cheap. They'll sell them for $15-20 a bottle. And I think they taste like a $70-80 bottle.
Nice.
There's your investing tip for the day.
Cool. You want to share a guilty pleasure with us?
Besides drugs? No, I'm kidding. Guilty pleasure. I guess probably besides just buying board games.
Okay.
I follow streamers a lot.
Yeah.
In part because I'm trying to learn from them because I have the podcast and I kind of treat the podcast like a stream because it is live stream and people can call into the show via Clubhouse and all that stuff. So, so I am learning from them, but I also just I like there being something on and then hearing and then having someone that's an absolute expert in that topic walk me through what's really happening. So for instance, a big one that just ended was the Karen Reed trial. Now I like trials and lawyers and all that kind of stuff anyway. I love hearing the arguments and kind of thinking about what I would do, but I will watch them and then watch a streamer who is, an attorney or a top person in their field talk about what's happening. And it's really informative to me. Or, there's the Asmongold guy and he just streams stuff and talks about what's happening. And it's interesting to me, but I will put that on while I'm doing like paperwork or while I'm doing, my operations manuals and all that kind of, I'll do it or generating art for something. So I'll have streamers going kind of in the background, listening and learning what they're doing, but also I'm kind of interested in those topics. So that would be, if there is a guilty pleasure, the drama that they cover would be the guilty pleasure.
Gotcha. Cool. Got a favorite emoji you like sharing with people that you text people?
So my brand colors are purple. So I changed all of my custom emojis especially on group text to where when I double tap, it does a purple heart. I've actually gotten referrals from that before because people will click and say, who's the purple heart and see it's me and then figure out I'm in Arkansas and go, oh, I got your name from this. So I'll do that. I also have customized all my emojis. So I'll do, instead of like a thumbs up, I do like the Hawaiian, like hang in there type of thing. I like that.
Hang loose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The hang loose. Yeah.
I think that's better for instead of like it, it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. I've seen that one a few times with that. The message is nominate someone on the show to be a good guest I could interview and put them on here that I could reach out to. I know you're your co-host, but who else do you think would be good or person you think be good.
Have you had Canadians on here?
Yeah, I've had David. I've had Fahad. I've had Larry.
Do you have Justin
Letta.
Kanakawa yet?
I had Justin. Had him on here. Yeah.
Okay. I was supposed to say he's an old Clubhouse guy.
Yeah.
Olivier, he's in Montreal. If you haven't had Olivier on.
No, I could get
let's
him.
see.
Yeah, I thought I saw him the other day. I'll reach out to him. Maybe he'd be going.
Yeah, there's interesting stuff happening in Montreal. And that's
Yeah,
just always
totally.
like hearing those perspectives. So yeah, I would
No,
say
they're
Olivier.
good. Yeah,
Andy
they have a
C.
good,
I don't know if you know Andy C, but he would be a good one too. He's in Silicon Valley area and awesome producer.
I got it.
Really good guy.
He gets busy. I'll try to reach out to him. But yeah, I think he's busy a lot. But yeah, I'll try maybe. I know he's an early morning guy too. So yeah, I'll reach out to him. Maybe see. Yeah, I'll reach out to my Canadian people. They're good guests on here
Eureka,
for
his
sure.
sister, would also be really good too. She's super kind.
Who one?
Eureka, Andy's
Oh yeah,
sister.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are all Clubhouse folks that I could think of.
Yeah. And then something on the bucket list you want to do.
So I've always said I want a house on the beach and a house in the mountains and just travel between the two. And I want that to be kind of the life. So I'm getting there as fast as possible. It's not a one and done bucket list item. It's a, that's the goal. That's where I want to get to.
And what if, let me ask you this. So how do we find you on social media with your tags, handle, get in touch with you and stuff like that to share with our audience?
Ray Zorback, that's RayZorback. So I am a Razorback fan, but just spell it Ray first and you'll find me on there.
Gotcha.
That's on Instagram. That's on almost everything, but Instagram is my main platform.
Okay. And yeah, we're on Spotify. You want to share your podcast with us too? We're on Spotify, stuff like that. On the Spotify, Steve Lynn Jr., but with your podcast, give a shout out to it.
If you go to This Week in Real Estate, if you search This Week in Real Estate, you'll see my bearded face. That's the podcast. Okay. We broadcast live every Wednesday at 1:00 Eastern on YouTube, and you can join it there and comment. We can add the comments to the show. You can join it on Clubhouse, and you can actually add your voice to the show, or you can just download the podcast in your favorite podcatcher. We're everywhere.
Okay. And if you need any real estate help, you can reach out to Ray or myself. Ray's out in Arkansas and back and forth. But from on the spot, we're out of here.
Thanks, Sid.